It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, so this next question, I didn't mean for this to dovetail segue so well, but it did. This question is from Jeff. Jeff said, my fiance and I, 40 and 44, both make over $100,000, and we save over 20%, 401k, 403b, and after-tax account. Should all the accounts be rebalanced? How often, or should it be based on deviation from our goals, meaning when goals change?
Oh, yeah.
So how does someone who's like in the saving, in the accumulation phase think about rebalancing and rebalancing like betwixt and across accounts?
So Jeff, first of all, kudos to you guys. It sounds like you and your fiance successful professionally, have good incomes. It sounds like you're probably saving if you're having these type of questions. I liked, previously Bo had talked about the value of index target retirement funds because they take out all the asset allocation questions. You just choose how much can you save, when do you need it, and the three big providers that we talk about from time to time are like Vanguard, Charles Schwab, and Fidelity Investments. Those just make it so simple. But you do have a point here, 'cause especially I imagine being 40 and 44, y'all probably have built some assets. You've had success for hopefully several decades now. You've built up a critical mass. You probably are getting to a size of assets that you've graduated beyond the index target retirement funds. And I already see it because I see it on shows, and that's why I've got future content coming that's going to address this, where people will bring up the case study of Vanguard index, their index target retirement fund had a big taxable distribution in after-tax accounts.
Don't worry, we're coming.
Everybody hangs their hat on this is why you should never use these type of funds. Well, look, we have a graduation point on this. Is once you get to a certain size, we completely agree that you will outgrow index target retirement funds. Think about it. We're financial advisors. If we're not giving this advice to put ourselves out of a job, we recognize that there are faults or areas that you outgrow, and your desires and your needs financially will be above and beyond. And here's a perfect one, Jeff. When y'all have had success, you're in your 40s, you've built up, and you're probably at or even beyond seven figures at this point, you should think about tax buckets. I mean, because we have after-tax money, we have, like your individual or joint brokerage accounts. We have tax-deferred money, which is your traditional IRAs, 401ks, plus your employer match. And then we have your tax-free buckets, which are your Roth 401k, your Roth IRA, and your 8 health savings accounts. All those things are treated differently in the eyes of the government. So it makes sense to create an asset allocation that maximizes all the different components. We want Roth assets, the tax-free side. Let's stick it to our favorite taxing uncle legally, the best way possible by putting growth assets in those type of holdings. We want the tax-deferred bucket where that match money is, or if you're in a high income, you put it, you got the tax savings on the front end. Put the ordinary income assets like your fixed income and other things that are going to pay out ordinary income in those buckets. And then the after-tax, this is money where you need liquidity if you're retiring early, as well as your cash reserves and other things. But it's also, you can take advantage of the tax-favored status of long-term capital gains or of dividends. Be smart with your buckets. And this is why, Jeff, we often say, as you're going through the financial order of operations, we know that the abundance cycle will pay off some point, that you're going to get so complicated, you don't know where your blind spots are. You don't know if you're maximizing. You don't know if you're doing this right from a tax or an asset allocation perspective. We know that's where you'll take the relationship to the next level, and that's why we work with clients all across the country.
I think this is an interesting thing. This is sort of a tactical thing, right? When it comes to rebalancing, you just talked about asset location. What types of assets do I hold in which types of accounts? Well, we do that under this construct of an overall asset allocation.
Great
right?
point.
We want the entire pie chart to look a specific and certain way. The location should support that. So when you ask about, like, when I rebalance, do I rebalance all of the accounts? A lot of people do that, right? They'll go, hey, you know what? I'm a 70-30. So I'm going to do 70-30 in my 401k and 70-30 in my 403b and then 70-30 in my Roth IRA. That may not be the optimal strategy. What I would think about is when I look at rebalancing, what accounts do I need to rebalance in to keep my my pizza pie, my total allocation intact, to do that accordingly. So sometimes it might be across all of the different accounts, or sometimes it might just be in one account. What I love about employer-sponsored retirement accounts, if you're someone who's actively contributing, you're putting money in every single month, you have a lot of freedom and flexibility to control your allocation based on how your future contributions are going in.
Yeah.
So rather than having to like sell and tweak, you can just have that stuff go into the buckets that you need, and you can adjust your future contributions to help keep it in this nice, neat allocation box. I think it's great that you're thinking about this, but if you are thinking about that, you're exactly right. That might be a time to think about next level type.
Know when to go pro.
Knowing when to go pro.